in Psalms 69, as we go through this, we won't read all of it, but here we see David in trouble, ain't he? And it's not that he's in trouble that people are after him. He's in trouble because of who he is. David is in a position to where he has to call on God. He's being insulted. He's being talked about. All because of his obedience to God. You follow me? They talking about him. And that's what this thing is, this other thing that what other people think about me is none of my business. Because when I start to worry about what other people think about me, you know what happens? I become who they want me to be. And I forget who I am in Christ. You follow me?
Yes, sir.
And the reason it does not work is because that's not who I am. And so we got to find our identity not in what people think of me, but what Christ thinks of me. And here, I'm just going to read a couple of them. He starts out in verse 1 by saying, "Save me, O God." He knew the exact one to call to save him in his time of trouble. Because he called me, I may not answer. But he knows that he got a connection with God. And that he going to hear him. He may not come when he want to, but he going to hear him. And I know he does not come when David exactly calls him. Because when you read in Psalms 5, David is in trouble, ain't he? He in trouble again. This time he has just raped Bathsheba. He's going through all of that stuff. And a couple of things he says, man, your heavy hand is upon me. And he goes through about 4 verses of that kind of thinking, that feeling, that attitude. And he gets to verse 5 and he says, finally. Finally, he's come to the end. He's come to the end enough to where he can confess his sins to God and get some relief from the suffering that he's been enduring. And here in verse 69, and I'm trying to figure out, I ain't read from 5 to 69. Has this been going on all this time? But he says again, oh, save me, oh God, for the floodwaters are up to my neck. You ever been there before?
Yep.
Huh? To where it feels like you're about to drown? Huh? You're blowing bubbles? Huh? And you don't know if you're going to make it out of this one, but somehow, some way, you come out still breathing. Save me, oh God. He says, man, I can't find a foothold. I am in deep water. I'm exhausted for crying for help. My throat is parched. He got a good one going on, don't he? Huh? He says, man, my eyes are swollen with weeping, waiting for my God. I love that he says, my God, even in the midst of trouble, he can recognize that he still got a God that's on his side. He says, those who hate me without cause outnumber the hairs on my head. Woo! Many enemies try to destroy me with lies, demanding that I give back what I didn't steal. Then he says, somewhere around verse 14, he says again, no, I'm going way too fast. Go to verse 10 when he says, when I weep and fast, they scoff at me. What? What? They're laughing at him because of his righteousness to God? They're laughing at him because he does not partake of the things that they partake of? They're laughing at him because he serves a living God? Oh yeah, you're going to be laughed at. You're going to be talked about. You're going to be ridiculed along this journey of recovery and coming and getting to know Christ even better. They're going to say, man, come on, man. You know, you fooled them down there at that church. You ain't got to fool us. Come on, get you one. Don't think it ain't coming. He says, when I dress in burlap to show sorrow, they make fun of me. I am the favorite topic of town gossip. You remember that? When everybody knew your business? Not because they was in it, but because you put them in it. Huh? We mad because folks talking about us. Well, do something different. Stop walking down the street 2 o'clock in the morning with TVs in your hand, they talking about me. Yeah, they gonna talk about you. When you don't show up and when you don't handle your responsibility, they gonna talk about you. He says, man, I am the topic. I am the favorite topic. He ain't just a topic, he the favorite topic of town gossip. You know that David, that one that, yeah, him. He says, and all the drunkens sing about me. You know it's bad when the drunk and the dope fiend laughing at you. I used to get mad at them when I was out there on the streets and they tell me, man, go home. How you gonna tell me to go home? Hey, you go home. Man, you a junkie just like I'm one. You go home. And you know what they told me? I ain't got nowhere to go. You got somewhere to go. Go home. Man, I hurt. I couldn't go home. Verse 13. In the midst of all this, from 1 to 13, he comes to this and he says, but I keep praying. And that's what we got to do, y'all. Because life will push us into a position. Satan will push us into a corner to where we don't want to pray no more. We think our prayers don't matter. We think our prayers ain't getting nowhere. But God hears our prayers. He says, but I keep on praying. Things ain't getting no better. They still talking about me. They still laughing at me. My situation ain't really changed. You remember we talked about this last week? Yeah. But you know what, God? I'm going to keep on praying to you because I believe that you are who you say you are and you're capable of doing what you said you was going to do. Yeah. And because I know who I am in Christ, and we'll get to that in a minute, I know you coming. He says, but I keep on praying to you, Lord, hoping this time you will show me favor. I got this from a brother that was still using. And I think he's still using today. And that was about 10 years, 12 years ago. He says, man, I keep on praying, hoping that this is the time that you will show me favor. See, the reason I keep on praying because I never know when God gonna do what he gonna do. What I gotta be careful of is that I'm not out of position when he gets ready to do what I asked him to do. See, we think if God don't answer now, then I can dib over here and I can dab over there. But the whole time he's ready and willing to bless me, but I ain't in line. I'm out of position. Gotta stay in position. So when the opportunity presents himself, that preparation has already been done, and he can't help but to bless you. Then he says, in your unfailing love, O God, answer my prayer with your sure foundation. He says, rescue me from the mud. Don't let me sink any deeper. Save me from those, he says it again, who hate me. And pull me from these deep waters. Don't let the floods overwhelm me, or the deep waters swallow me, or the pit of death devour me. 16 says, answer my prayers, O Lord. For your unfailing love, he says it again, don't he? Is wonderful. Take care of me, for your mercy is plentiful. Don't hide from your servant. Answer me quickly, for I am in deep trouble. Come and redeem me. Free me from my enemies. He says, man, I keep on praying, hoping that this is the time that you will show me favor. What he says, and the point of it is that at this time, as I told y'all, they were talking about David. They were laughing at David. They were ridiculing David. He says, As David wrote this, David felt as his problems were drowning him. It seemed that everyone was attacking him and no one was around to take his side. And that's okay too. Because what David recognized is that when it seemed like nobody was there, he still knew, even in the midst of his sin and disobedience and separation from God, that God was still there. That gave him a whole shot to say, Lord, I'm going to keep on praying. Because I heard about you. I've seen you operate in my own life and other people's life. And I know what you'll do for somebody else, you'll do for me. So I'm going to keep on praying, hoping that this is the time that you will show me some favor. He needed some favor because he knew he didn't have it all in him. Hey, man, I ain't got it all. I need a favor. What is a favor? Huh? What is a favor? When somebody do a favor for you, huh? They helping you out? Yeah. And God does favors for us when he knows we can't pay him back. He knows that there's not enough that we can do to get back. What's up? You know what he says? Or what we need to recognize? That we in debt. We in debt to this program. We in debt to God. We in debt to Jesus. We in a debt that we can't pay back. And he says, we often feel the same desperation as we work through the process of recovery. In times like these, we should do what David did and cry out to God for help. Submit to his will. Don't cry out to God and then turn around and do something different. When you cry out to God, God is looking for you to submit to what, or submit to his will. Trust in him. Just submit to his will and entrust our life to his care. What are you praying? It's like praying without expectations. You might well stop praying. If you praying and asking God to do something and don't think you're really going to do it, what's the point? That just lets me know we don't know who we are in Christ.